He waiwai para hutsi hutsi, he wahine taikaha. Fast and fierce, Jenny-May Clarkson made her mark as a dual international. The Pio Pio native, no Ngāti Maniapoto and Ngāti Kahu, was a standout mid-quarter for the Silver Ferns from 1997 to 2003, playing 28 tests and clinching silver at the 2002 Commonwealth Games. She captained top netball teams and shone as a leader on and off the court. Her skills extended to the Touch Blacks, earning another silver at the 1999 World Cup. Ka tahi ka huri ki te ao pāpāho, transitioning to TV, she is now a co-host of TVNZ's Breakfast, balancing her role as a presenter, wife, mama, and tua wahine.
Kia ora tātou katoa. I'm sorry that you were subjected to that. We had to dig deep into the archives to pull out some vision of me playing. I just want to say first up, I'm absolutely packing myself being up here because I can actually see you. See, when you're on television, you don't have anybody in the audience. Anyway, it's an absolute privilege to be standing up here and to be given the space to tell some of my story. And I hope that some of my story in some way resonates with you on some level. And I tell it in the context of what is currently happening in Aotearoa. And what I do know is that we have come too far to go back now. And my message tonight for us all is that we will rise above it all. So that video was from back in 1997. That was my Silver Ferns debut, first test against England. And so I want to rewind 18 years. A 5-year-old that was hopeful, curious, and also fearless. What that 5-year-old didn't actually know was the roller coaster of highs and lows that would be thrown at her. If she'd known what was to come, would she have willingly walked down that path? And the answer is, shit, yes. Again and again and again. And I want to start here. I'm sorry about the one in the middle. That's me trying to be New Edition or Madonna or something. I don't know. I don't even know why I included it. But anyway, it's there. But I want to start here because the trophy that I'm holding on to is the Charles Memorial Cup, which is for the all-round sports person at Pio Pio Primary School. That was gifted by my parents to the school in memory of my brother Chala, who passed away when he was 10 years old. I was 6 at the time. In this photo, I'm 10. Also in that photo is my grandfather, Charlie Coffin. That's one of the only photos that I have with my grandfather. His story is remarkable. It's extraordinary. You know, I think about the tragedy in his life, how hard it was, but that it was full of hope. And I often think about him, and I think about my grandmother, who I never got to meet because she died in her 40s. And the reason I start with them is because I know that they carried a vision, a dream of what their mokopuna could be. They fought through their challenges, knowing that every step was building towards something greater for the generations that were to come. Their hardships, their aspirations became the foundation of my journey. They paved the way for me to succeed. Sport became, my way to carry their vision forward. Oh my God, how old is this? So this is the first tour to England. Mum and Dad travelled with us. And I remember Mum and Dad had never been on a plane before, and here they were getting on a plane to go all the way over to England, going through Heathrow Airport, and I was freaking out. I was more worried about them than actually playing for the Silver Ferns. And beautiful thing that I remember about that match is that my dad, after my debut, he came running into the team huddle. So you can imagine, just finished the test, we're all in the middle of the court, and we go to put our hands in, and next minute there's this old Māori dude coming in. And everybody's going, who's this guy? That was my dad. And I reflect on that moment, and I I wonder how proud he must have been to see me wearing the Silver Fern and that black dress. But actually what I think he was most proud of was me fulfilling my own hopes and dreams. If you're really old, you'll know who that is in the photo. Joan, if you are here. Sorry, sister. I got dropped not long after that. I might have played 1 or 2 series when we got back to New Zealand. And again, I think back to how that impacted me. The time and the energy that it took, that I put into my dream, which was becoming a Silver Fern. And I hadn't actually considered the possibility of failure, of what I actually thought was failure back then. And I remember the phone call from Yvonne Wollering. She called me, and all I heard was, "I'm really sorry, but you haven't made it." Didn't hear anything else after that. She kept going on and on and on. All I wanted to do was get off that phone call. And I was in the room, and everybody knew, because back in the day, they used to say, "Look, we're going to ring you between these 2 times." So when my phone rang, everybody in the household knew that that was Yvonne calling to say whether I'd made it or that I hadn't. I didn't want to leave the room. I just burst into tears. And the thing was about that is that I was embarrassed. I felt shame. And I actually felt that I had let everyone down. Because I'd wrapped up everything about who I was in being a Silver Fern. But then came this from my nieces, reminding me that my worth was far deeper than any title. My love for them was what mattered. My willingness to push into spaces that our whānau hadn't yet stepped into, that was what mattered. Failure is not the end, it's just the beginning of finding out what you're truly capable of. Because every loss and every stumble is an opportunity to grow and find strength in places you didn't even know existed. Together we rise. So after that door closed, I kicked in another one. And this is the New Zealand touch team that went to the World Cup in Sydney back in 1999, proving to myself that actually, even in the face of disappointment, we have the power to create our own futures. We don't have to wait for permission to be great. We take our greatness into the spaces that we step into. So eventually I made my way back into the Silver Ferns, hard work, hard conversations, but always a willingness to be better. Made the tour to Jamaica. It's quite freaky in Jamaica. They actually drive the bus into the stadium, drop you off right on the side of the court. The song that was playing was a Bob Marley song about colonial oppression, which I had a bit of a giggle about. Nobody else in the bus actually knew what was going on, but I thought, power to you fellas, man. All was good. Then I got dropped from the starting 12. We took 14 players over there, and I didn't make that 12. And to be honest, it felt like I had been dropped all over again. Actually, the toughest part was after the test, and back in those days, they used to make you go out and sprint. The crowd's still milling around, and there you are, sprinting up and down the court, trying to get everybody out of the way, and I understand why they did it. But the humiliation I felt after being dropped the first time returned in that moment. But in that moment, I chose strength over the struggle and didn't allow that moment to overwhelm me. They lost that test too, by the way, just saying. So as I reflect on parts of my career, I think the lessons that I learnt, I still actually carry with me today. We are in a time that is challenging everything about who we are. We are in a moment that will be remembered for our ability to rise above it all. Now, I know that I asked at the beginning of this kōrero if this little girl, knowing the journey ahead, would have chosen this path. Again, I say absolutely. Because I've seen what's possible. And when you leave here tonight, what will you do to honour the generations to come? What will you do to honour yourself? What will you do to honour your mana? I encourage you all to step into spaces that challenge you, that are uncomfortable, and to honour the legacy that you carry and the dreams of your tupuna. Nō reira, e te whānau, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa.
Ko te reo